Okay. Welcome everybody. It's 6:30 on October 10th, 2023, and we are calling to order the select board meeting of the town of Wenham. In attendance is myself, Diane Bucco.
Ben Timon, Peter Clay,
Deirdre Parati.
Gary Cheeseman.
Perfect. We're starting off today with public input. All participants wishing to address the select board during public comments may do so in person or via Zoom by raising your hand. Speakers must identify themselves by name and street. The select board may or may not deliberate or vote on matters discussed during the public comment. Anybody here? Jeff?
No comment.
No comment. All right, we don't even have to wait because there's no one.
we have
in
to
there.
figure out how to make us must-see TV.
Must-see TV. Like a Jeopardy game?
Giveaways.
Giveaways.
Under
People
$50.
so generous can come with share some stuff. Reports and announcements. TAC.
Yep. So obviously we're just in the starts of a budget season, so kind of going around outside of gathering the information from departments. We've been setting up meetings with things like health insurance, trash collection, things of that nature. So last week we met with Maya. They are to go over our claims history and their projected increase for next year. Right now they're saying to budget for 10%, and they're looking for this 10% over the next 3 years is probably
10% increase over the next 3 years?
yeah, each year. Essentially the reasoning giving is that they're seeing a large uptick in surgeries from the pandemic, where a lot of people weren't having things done, whether they were deferred because it wasn't like a life-threatening procedure, or a lot of people just kind of put their life on hold and everything went on hiatus through the pandemic, and then even the year or so after, you see a lot of people continuing to use COVID as an excuse, but people are now kind of getting back into the swing of things. And additionally, they've seen a lot of folks weren't going for their routine screenings and physicals, blood work. So there was essentially deferred health needs that are now showing themselves as things like cancer, diabetes, and things like that. That if caught earlier, A, would have been a better outcome, or B, the treatments needed would have been spread out over a number of years. But now it's like 3 years worth of everybody going back, now realizing that they need some sort of significant treatment. So that's where we're at now. They always start high and paint the doomsday picture, and it has come down a couple points in the past couple of years, but usually they start at 8, and we end up somewhere between 6 and 7, and this year they're starting at 10, so maybe that means 8. We don't know yet. And then as far as looking for opportunities for savings in that area, we did talk about what we could do with the current plan and flexibilities with deductible and co-insurance and all of that. We're at our maximum allowable amount. We're allowed to go without going into collectively bargain as a complete plan change. It's within our ability to go to match the GIC in terms of deductibles and co-insurance and things like that, and we are at that level now, so we can't go any higher without essentially implementing a new plan, which would be going to you have to bargain the impact with all the labor unions to do that. Not that it's impossible, it just adds a significant layer of doing something like that. We also met with Casella, and so our waste disposal is due and is up in FY26. So that means the FY27 budget year will need to account for any changes in waste disposal. So we talked some very preliminary numbers. It doesn't look to be as bad as I've seen some other communities get hit. It's just as kind of ebbs and flows in the cost of waste disposal, and so kind of depending on when you sign the contract and when you renew, you're kind of at the mercy of the market in that given time. So, you know, I don't want to put a number on it, but we're not. I think originally I was saying, you know, something like 50%. I don't think that's going to be the reality. However, we are going to be adding a slide to this year's November kind of financial. We did like kind of a little financial summit last year at one of the select board meetings where we went through certain metrics, you know, just basic revenues and expenditures and some fixed income costs, drivers that are putting, you know, some pressure points on our budget. So we'll be adding I'm learning myself as we go, but the kind of some of the nuts and bolts to waste disposal, pickup, the different streams of recycling, food disposal, and, you know, what are the costs associated with that? Like, what part of the cost that we pay every year, if you pay $200,000 a year, what part of that is to pay the company to have the people come out and pick it up? What part of that is to have it trucked up to, you know, the place where you burn it up in Andover, I believe, North Andover? You know, what part of that goes to actually having it burned? You know, so you can kind of see the different components of the prices. So at least get the discussion going so folks have an understanding of what makes up a trash bill and what are some of the drivers and cost. So, and then on that same vein as with finance is, so Essex, originally we were hoping to have Jeff here starting 2 days a week on October 16th. That was with the understanding that they would have their part-time accountant in by that time. However, the part-time accountant had got delayed a month, so that puts us out another month into November, towards the end of November, before we have somebody in that office. However, Jeff Soulard, the finance director, or future finance director, has offered to take some vacation time to come in, but I told him, you know, I don't want you burning all your vacation time to come in, but I do appreciate the gesture. So he's gonna try to be around as much as he can, but won't be starting in any real capacity probably till late November. And then, you know, the other one that just came up today is we had a liquor license request for Penguin Hall. It's on the 18th. So obviously, you know, we have a 30-day deadline. However, not a lot of people make the 30-day deadline when applying for a liquor license. We usually do our best to work with them, though this is the least amount of notice we've received. It's essentially 1 week. So the gentleman has asked if the board would entertain calling a special town meeting, a special board meeting to review and potentially approve his application. This came up today, so none of the paperwork is ready, nor could we add it really to an open meeting that was posted last week. So that could be, I don't know if you want to get your feelings on that. We could talk individually tomorrow, and I could kind of take it from there after I see what the appetite is, and see if we can set something up, or if you want to just say, you know, you gotta be thinking ahead a little bit more, and 7 days is just not enough time.
What is the event that they're doing?
It's do you remember?
Creative Catering is doing it at North Shore Magazine.
North Shore Magazine through Creative Catering is doing an event.
Did we not just approve a liquor license for them?
That was a different
A
event, but
different
it's
one.
the second time in a month, right, that they're
Yeah.
late with the application?
Yes,
Yeah, I mean,
again, we just did a
We
liquor
just
license
did
for
for a
them.
retirement party.
Yeah,
that
well, the other
same-
one was within the 30-day. Yeah, it was, I guess, technically late. However, I can't remember a time, right, that anyone's been within that 30 days. So, but
So
technically
they just did get one done,
they just got one
and
done.
then this
yeah.
one.
So it sounds like they must rent that hall out, I'm guessing, right?
I think so. I mean, I guess we all have to look at our schedules and see.
Yeah. I'm sorry, so it's creative catering, but it's for a Academy of Penguin Hall event as opposed to some third party?
North Shore Magazine.
No, it's
No, it's North Shore
Oh, no.
Magazine.
Oh, so it's
It's
a
event.
completely
It's a-
third party
yes.
thing?
Yep.
So who requested the liquor license?
Creative Catering.
Creative
The
Catering.
gentleman from Creative Catering requested it, called today.
For an event next week.
Isn't that odd? You don't think that they already, I mean,
North Shore event would be a big thing. People have to know about it.
Yeah, North Shore Magazine, yeah.
We seem stumped.
If you want to sleep on it, I'll talk, I can call around in the morning and see what.
It kind of ticks me off, actually.
It, let's think on it. Let's keep going.
Okay. And finally, we met with the schools, chairs meeting last week. So, obviously it's very early in the process for everybody. We talked about, some of our pressure points and budget drivers. The schools is hoping to come in, below 3% this year. So this will be another year similar to the prior years where they had a number of budgeted for, so funded positions that were unable to be filled. Those positions, at least from my understanding, were cut from the budget for this year. So when we close the books, or when they close their books at the end of this fiscal year, it'll be a year-end close without those funded but not filled positions. So this is kind of like the last year that they're gonna have, some money that could be used to, I believe, offset the assessment. And additionally, they are looking at, all 4 or 5 of their labor contracts are due and currently being negotiated. So the police, the teachers union, no, the schools as well.
The schools as well.
Yeah, so that the teachers union is a pretty strong union in Massachusetts. And, they have some pretty large requests across the state. I've talked with many individuals and, it's been a difficult negotiation to come to an agreement. So that's kind of what they have on their horizon, high level. The meeting was relatively short, but we did talk a little bit.
But if I could jump in, and Hamilton's said the same type of thing, that they are strapped by certain things. They're going through all their major contract negotiations all at the same time as well. It seems like everybody has things that we have to get done, the health insurance and this, that, and there's not a lot of wiggle room with any things you can work with. So it'll be interesting. Very pleasant meeting. Everyone-
Yeah, it was great. And that's all I got for updates.
I'm going last today. I can change things around. Ben, do you have anything to report?
I would just say that with respect to the liquor license issue that just came up, since we can sort of cover non-agenda items in this portion of the agenda, right?
Yep.
That we were copied on a letter from another department relating to that property owner, and perhaps it should be suggested to the property owner that get taken care of to the extent that they're kind of asking for extraordinary approvals from the board.
And so it's not the property owner asking.
I understand, but
yes,
it's for their.
it's related to their.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would be making money on that,
That was
yeah. Okay, good thing to think
my
about.
thought, but.
I think for the public's sake, you should just clarify what you're referring to.
Sure, so the select board was copied on a letter from the water department relating to delinquent water bill from that property owner with particular deadlines for payment. And so it seems like it would be prudent for those things to be taken care of.
Understood. Pete, have anything to say?
Nope.
Nothing?
Well, I'll just say this, it was
Okay.
a great turnout for the Iron Rail Best Use event the other day.
That was,
That was a lot of people.
that was at least 50 people
Yes.
from all over. I found different ages, different departments.
Senator Tar was there.
Senator Tar came, he was very interested. Yeah, so we'll talk about that in a minute. Thank you. Deirdre?
So I just wanted to say a thank you to everyone who participated in the master plan technical sessions, including our consultant team, J.M. Goldson and her team, as well as our master plan advisory committee members who came and acted as facilitators, and to everyone who came and participated as our technical experts. We had a great turnout and a lot of great discussions in the 5 sessions, so we really appreciate everyone being willing to come and share their thoughts. With some great material and great input. I'd also like to thank the Hamilton Council on Aging, because they had extended us an invitation to the COA to attend sort of a luncheon with the Undersecretary for Elder Affairs, Elizabeth Chen, Massachusetts Undersecretary. It was a nice event, casual, and people had a chance to ask questions and just meet and greet with the Undersecretary. And Senator Tarr was there also. So it was a nice, very nice event.
Thank you. Gary, do you have anything?
Just a question, if I can, for Steve. Any update on the fund transfer to cover our extra hours for planning board support?
No, they're meeting, when's your next meeting?
Planning board? 18th.
Yeah, the 18th,
18th,
and I
right.
still owe them backup.
The FinCom.
The
That's
FinCom, yeah, sorry. So I still have FinCom backup, but they're meeting on the 18th.
That's all I got.
Okay. So I had the follow-up on Steve's with the Quint Chair. Meeting went well. The all-board Quint Committee, all of us, is November 29th. Hopefully everybody has that in their calendar after you've heard. The Children's Fair, I don't think we've had a meeting since the Children's Fair, or have we?
No.
It was an amazing event. Everybody that went, they did a great job. I preferred it this year because the museum property, they couldn't really use it, so it was really nice, like done right here. The kids were amazing, spent a little bit of money. It was a really good, well event put on by primarily Natalie Bowers and someone whose name I can't remember. Do you know?
Bethany, I think is who you're thinking of?
Yes, Bethany. Thank you, sorry, everybody. The Audubon did send out a notice that they are having an opening reception on November 16th at the new, off Cedar Street, the Cedar Pond opening. It looks beautiful over there, and I love the new crosswalk there, which we heard about
3 to 4:30.
last week. 3 to 4:30 on the 11th, 17th. I had a question for Steve. When you talked about insurance, it was mainly health insurance with Maya, but do we have, do we do notary service here?
Notary?
in town? Yeah.
As far as I know, we don't formally do notary. However, I believe the clerk is in the process of, the town clerk is becoming a notary so that we can offer it. I believe the town has never formally offered it as a service. However, there's been folks that have had their notary and, kind of informally, if someone's looking for a notary, it'll be like, oh, go upstairs and so-and-so can.
Yeah, no, there's always been a notary, so my
Oh, have they? Okay.
question was going to be if you could check to see if the town has errors and omissions insurance so that we can use notary service.
Oh, so the clerk, I didn't know that the clerk's office is always,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, but I didn't know what our situation is at now, because it seems to be coming to a head statewide with notaries. So we just wanna make sure we have that.
Is this a service we want to continue to offer, or?
So I don't know, that's something we can discuss, I'm sure. I think you should offer it, you should have a notary in the building for town business. I think it's a nice service for your residents.
Yeah, I
Like
agree.
resident only, it would be a select board policy to do, specifically resident only, which we've never really had that kind of policy.
I can confirm, town clerk is certified now.
She is, okay, good.
Yeah, so I think, it depends on how we wanna do that service. Notary is becoming a big issue. Banks aren't doing it for people, and,
For liability reasons?
and a lot of offices are not doing it for the liability reasons. And so those that are getting inundated in the middle of that happening here, in the resident service. It's a nice service to have.
yeah.
Sometimes you need a notary.
I see a resident, so nobody off the street can come in, just resident only.
I would say resident only. but maybe that's something we need to look into.
Yeah, we'll bring it back. We'll bring
Okay.
it back.
So that just made me think when you said mile. And then I think we also need to think about, thanks to Gary for reminding me, some sort of party gathering recognition for town hall staff. So, doesn't seem like it, but now that the fair's over, it is sort of getting into holiday time, so I don't know what ideas you all might have, but I think we should do something for our staff.
We did last year, right?
Did we do dinner what did we do last year?
Didn't we go
to Ralph's
Kitchen?
We went out to eat.
Yes.
Yep,
For, yeah, that was like a holiday, right?
Yeah.
holiday
Holiday
thing.
dinner.
So we could do that, or we could just do something before the holidays.
Yeah, I think we did a lunch. Didn't we do a pizza lunch down here? I thought I remembered. Like an
So
appreciation
my
lunch.
question would be, before I ask these guys, is what the staff would want. Like, do they want just something brought in and have a meal, or do they wanna go out, or do they wanna
Yeah.
go?
I mean, I think it's gonna be mixed. Some of the, we got a lot of feedback on the Rev,
The
a
holiday
lot of
dinner?
people were, loved it, were excited to go. Some people thought the cost to entry was a little too high and they were unable to make it, or just, they wished they'd done something during the day so everyone could be together and not
So you
be
can't win.
included. Yeah, yeah, I think that, it's always gonna be a mix of folks, so that's why maybe we could do, continue with the theme of a holiday party, do like the Rev again, but also do an employee appreciation lunch, just with pizzas or something, maybe like finger sandwiches from Henry's and,
So would that be better than maybe a coffee?
yeah, or a breakfast, that
Breakfast or
could,
something.
that would be, I think either
All right.
one would be.
Thoughts,
would be
you
pretty
guys?
good.
Anyone?
Can't please everybody all the
No.
time.
No, but I think, so two things. So you could do the evening thing away, and then something during the day, be it morning or lunch. Any thoughts on when? Feel free to speak up.
Earlier in December, before everything gets too busy,
So, but why not before Thanksgiving?
if we got time to plan it, sure.
And would you say that the consensus is that whether it's at the Rev or somewhere at a restaurant, that that it be during the day as opposed to in the evening? Because I know some people probably don't need an extra night out.
Yep, we did get some of that. We got that the Rev was a little too expensive. We got that, wished it was during the day. And then, equally amount was, yeah, I'm down, let's go, so
Yeah.
it definitely was a definitely a mixed bag. But that was, so as far as like the negative feedback was cost and the fact it was at night.
So how was cost handled last time? Like, was it a flat fee, or was it?
Yeah, it was a flat fee. Michelle, I don't know if you negotiated or set up a plan where we had 4 or 5 entrees that could be selected from, and it was just a flat fee per person. And you got, a salad, an entree, and then a dessert, I think, or something like that. And
Yeah.
I don't remember the cost, but
It's $50.
$50 per
A
person.
person.
And how many people, roughly?
26 to 30, I think. Maybe not.
Yeah, that sounds
We have-
about right.
20 and 30?
About 26 to 30.
26
26 to
Yeah.
30.
I think that sounds about right. I think that's.
So this is, I'm gonna
Go for it.
reveal my naivete as a brand new member, but is there not any excess funding in like the selectmen's? No, Gary's saying absolutely
And I'm
not.
looking this way.
The access is 5 members here that might want to donate.
Right, yeah. It's good too, but yeah, I was just
Yep.
curious whether there was any line item for that kind of a thing,
Does someone want to take this on? I'm happy to plan something for them.
I'll do it.
Pete will
I'll do it with Steve. Is that all right?
Is that good with
Yeah.
you?
Do it.
Just make a plan, figure something out,
Yep.
run it by us, and we'll see what to do next.
Sure.
I would recommend before Thanksgiving. Because I think once Thanksgiving hits, then it's holiday season and everyone's really busy and whatnot. I would also love to see maybe even, so if you did morning, then town hall doesn't open for an extra hour, and let everybody socialize. Do you know what I mean? Because when it's open and, I don't know, you'd have to discuss it with the boss.
We can even
over there.
open a regular time, and if you wanted to do, like, if we're thinking like a night out with the holiday thing, and then doing like
A day thing.
a daytime or, you know, breakfast is probably the simplest, and just whatever, 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 or whatever, come by, and people, you know, that cover public facing offices, you know, we can, down here is easy because you have, you
Who
can poke
comes
your head
by?
out, you know what I mean? Like, you know, offer it to the police officers, fire,
Right.
everybody, and just.
But
you know,
not
you might
everybody can come if we're all.
Well, you might not get everyone in at once, but
That's
you
right.
can rotate through.
Okay,
you
you
know.
guys can plan it.
Anyways, we can talk it through our options.
Awesome.
Just an idea.
Peter, I like my steaks medium rare, please.
With a side of
I think we're all going down to Jersey Mike.
How is
Steak
that?
and
Have you
cheese.
You
been?
like that, he loves it.
You good? I've never been there.
Excellent.
So I think we're all set with announcements. Okay. Did we have Ernest Ashley?
Yes.
He is. Oh
Yep.
my gosh, we have a water commission. Do you have something?
Well, Sue came in late, so I'm just wondering if that was public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Were you here for
Didn't
public
realize I
comment?
was late.
Were you
I
here for
mean,
public
2
comment?
minutes. She was
Can I
here.
make one?
Sure.
Please. Sorry, I'm late. Sue Petrolia, 6 Eaton Road. I'm just here in favor of creating the Sustainability and Climate Action Committee, which we talked about, I heard you talk about 2 weeks ago, and you will finalize in a couple of weeks. I have, I'm with the Climate Action Team as well as the Master Plan Committee. There's just a ton of sustainability coming through, requirements, acceptances coming through the master plan. And I feel really strongly that we need a committee that will be able to vet this stuff. We meet with Vicki, your energy manager, every month for breakfast, and she runs down in the course of an hour and a half all the things that have come down the pike for grants and opportunities and et cetera. For climate action and sustainability. I have a little story. I was at the Shop Local, at our booth, and we have the, you know, why don't you try and get solar or get renewable energy or ask everyone how they can do a little better. And if you're from Hamilton, you can go to your CCA and just click a button and change your green energy from 5% to 100%. If you are, and last year you also paid like 11 or 12 cents for your electricity. And in Wenham, you have to go either, I don't know, you have to go online and change your electrical sourcing, or you have to be part of a solar farm. And this is because when the CCA opportunity came up 6 or 7 years ago for both Hamilton and Wenham, Wenham just wasn't in the position to figure out and know how it was working, and Hamilton was. So just in terms of dollars and cents, the Hamilton residents have been saving money for years when we could have been doing it also. So it's just something that I think Sustainability and Climate Action Committee would figure out and bring to your attention and make it a lot easier to save the money and do the right thing. So thank you very much. I appreciate jumping in.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ernest, your water commission and open space rec update.
Okay, let me share my screen, if I may. Share screen. Host disabled screen sharing. So if you could let me share my screen, that would be great.
You should be good now.
Yes. And you should see Open Space and Recreation Committee?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you for the opportunity. See if it can get it to move to the next screen page. There we are. So just to update you on the personnel, Ernest Ashley, myself as chair, Vincent Fennell as vice chair, Ann Weeks, Tom Starr have been on for some time, as well as Lou Randazzo, Mary Beth Ting, And then Joan DeGeorge just recently dropped from the board, retired, and we have an expression of interest from Gunther Anger to join the board. We typically like to have 7, 4 required for a quorum. We have meetings typically the second Wednesday of the month, and they have been held virtually since the beginning of the pandemic, and we find that that has worked quite well for this committee. As far as what we have accomplished, the first thing out of the gate was the creation of an open space and recreation plan, which was completed in 2019. And we also then ranked the Chapter 61 properties against a series of expressed interests from the town from a public meeting. And then we generated a policy for and procedures for the various boards to evaluate the right of first refusal for properties that come up from Chapter 61. We generated a trail map with some consultants that allowed us to walk through various areas of the trail network and record the conditions thereof, and then map these trails, and it is available at the town hall and also, I think, on the website. And then the major activity of late has been a feasibility study of the West Wenham Playground, or Park and Higginson Playground. And we received a grant from the CPC for about $15K, which we used for the feasibility study. That has been completed, and since then we have secured and used a grant of about $20,000 from the state. It was used to purchase water bubbler, bottle filler type apparatus and picnic tables, because that had a to be spent by date, and so we spent it. And we have then been awarded, thank you very much, the $375,000 towards the park construction and design from the Community Preservation Act and Committee. We have applied for $175K for ARPA funds. So as you see, we have now some momentum for this West Wenham Park, where we've been putting most of our efforts of late. And the West Wenham Park is our future focus, with, I understand, some in front of the select board to award the design contract to the BSC group. And they will be doing the kickoff for the design, and then the committee would be evaluating some of their design suggestions and helping with the permitting, and then ultimately procuring the construction. And our plan is to, if possible, accomplish all design and permitting and everything to be able to have some construction start in the spring and complete that next summer. As far as additional focus, we are going to be monitoring all of the evaluations and recommendations for the Iron Rail property, and then looking towards how we can promote other underutilized properties. We also coordinate with Essex County Greenbelt on evaluating the potential Chapter 61 properties that might come up, so that we could have some collaboration on how to move forward with what discussions with the town. So just a little bit more of an update on the West Wenham Park Higginson Playground. The proposals, and this is a sketch from the BSC group, who has now been the winning group for carrying through from the feasibility study to the design. And this would make the park accessible through a paved path up to a turnaround and parking for a couple of handicap accessible spaces here. And then it would create a picnic area and redo the parking with mostly gravel or other, natural surfaces that will allow water to infiltrate. And then take on the sport court that is currently there. Needs some improvements for the basketball court and the existing tennis court, it could house 4 pickleball courts. We have been approached by neighbors regarding amount of noise, and we would be looking into potential noise dampening, shielding, and fencing. But one of the main activities, so we looked at things like skateboard parks and dog parks and other things, was a pump track, something made out of dirt that basically would be targeted for the above elementary school playground, but not off at the high school level yet, probably the middle school age kids that really probably are underserved in terms of recreational activities and locations. And in addition to that, some type of a fitness path or play area that could be, so what we have done is identified the major infrastructure items that need to be funded to be able to get things moving on this park. But with the CPC, the one other thing that I didn't mention here is the creation of a pavilion or a shelter so that this park could be used by families and others to have functions like family picnics and other things. So that is pretty much the Open Space and Recreation Committee. Let me see if I can zoom, and I will bring the slide over to here and entertain any questions from the Select Board before I move on to the Water Department.
Well, it looks like a really fun program. You've done a lot. The committee has certainly done a lot of work in the short amount of time you guys have been working on this. Does anyone on the board have any questions, comments, concerns?
I've seen this before.
You've seen it before?
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't think
very
it's
good.
as definite as before.
Okay, then page down to the Water Department
Wait a minute,
and
Ernest.
Water Commission.
Wait 1 second. Did you have a question?
Yeah, Ernest, this is Deirdre. I just had a quick question.
Sure.
When you were talking about the Chapter 61 ranking process, I know there was a system or a matrix created to do the rankings. Or did the rankings actually also get done on all of the parcels? And is that public information or not public?
The rankings did get completed. I can imagine it is a public document. And it was not part of the 2019 plan. It was a action item of the 2019 plan. And so if we want to, we can, but basically it looked into a series of things like views, historic issues, potential redevelopment, a bunch of other things that were weighted and scored and, of course, discussed and debated. But yes, I believe that's a public document.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Gary?
No, good.
Ben? No. Great, we're ready for water.
Water Department, and I left this for last because I think I have more to say about this. My profession is as a environmental consultant and hydrogeologist, so I'm not sure how long I've been on the Water Commission, but I am pleased to be able to do so because it's the area of my interest and where I felt like I could contribute most to the town. So on the Water Department, I have the people in the pipes up here, and Eric Mansfield is our superintendent, and I don't know if it was an accident that we hired such a good superintendent, but I will say, as a person who does his annual appraisals every year, that I've been very pleased with Eric and how he has run the department. I serve as chair. Diane Dixon has been on the board for some years, and she is also a member of the Ipswich River Watershed Association, so she adds a very good perspective to our board. And Chuck Dam has recently joined the board, and he brings a lot of value because he's the DPW director for Manchester by the Sea. So Chuck and Eric have an awful lot in common in what their responsibilities are, and he's a fellow former CDM person where I work, so I think it's been a great addition to have Chuck. We meet once a month, and typically we have met in person. And then I write up on the pipes. We have 1,221 households that are served, and we have had a new connection this year to Maple Woods. We ran 900 feet of main, 8-inch main out, and installed 2 new hydrants. The whole system has 32 miles of service line, and then we have 2 major storage tanks. The largest one is on Lord's Hill, and that provides the gravity drive pressure for most of the system. And then there's the other one at the Iron Rail facility, which is augmented by a compressor. So the source of our water is 2 gravel pack wells off of Pleasant Street and near Pleasant Pond, but we have tested the water and determined that we do not have a hydraulic connection to Pleasant Pond. There is a thick clay layer in between. Our wells are approximately 50 and 70 feet respectively. We treat the water with 3 compounds: calcium hypochlorite for sanitation. And when we first were required to do this, we did it with sodium hypochlorite because it was available and an emergency basis. And that really made everybody comment that it smells like a swimming pool. So we changed to a system with calcium hypochlorite and actually put in a large pipe within the location of the pump house so that there was more residence time, and we could put in a minimum amount of calcium hypochlorite and have sanitation with the least amount of taste and odor. Zinc orthophosphate is what we add to prevent the copper and lead from leaching out of the plumbing. This is the compound that was missing in some of the notorious cases in Flint, Michigan, and the thing. We also add sodium fluoride, which has been shown to be a great benefit to public health. We test the water for bacteria once a month, and we are required by Mass DEP to test quarterly for the combined wells and monthly for either of them. Anyway, we're testing for our new contaminant of concern, PFAS, once a month. And we annually test for a very long list of chemicals, including naturally occurring elements like copper and other things like that. We issue, if I can go back, we issue a consumer confidence report every June. It's in a very strict format from Mass DEP, but it provides all the information on the testing results. And I will say that we have very high quality water. I'm currently in Virginia, and the water here is poor tasting and so soft that the soap never runs off my skin. So water use from the water department. What you have across the top are the 2020 years, 2020, 21 through 2023. And on the right, you can see the months. And if you look at it, you can see that in the average, we go up in June to like 12 million gallons a month pumped. But if you go back to November and December, we're down around 6 million gallons a month pumped. The difference of that is irrigation. And when we start talking about water restrictions, if we have a drought, you can see the difference between just having drinking water and flushing your toilet at 6 million gallons a month and 12 million gallons a month, and sometimes higher, is what happens when we water our lawns. So we have placed water restrictions out there, and we are required to provide water restrictions during periods of drought. Mild drought, significant drought, critical drought. These are the levels that Mass DEP provides as notices and expects Water Department then to implement restrictions along these lines. And we have typically also done it relative to the water level or amount of water flowing over the dam in the Ipswich River. This past year, we had an abundance of water and no need for a watering restriction. Other years, we've had significant droughts, and we have to enforce, first of all, our bylaw, which says one should not water between 9 in the morning and 5 at night when most of it evaporates, but rather follow these restrictions for both of timing and use and how to use outdoor water. So just a couple more things on the water department. Our operation and maintenance is comprised of hydrant flushing, which we do in the spring and fall, accomplished in April, and then October 16th to November 3rd of this year. And typically that's at the end of the line, and Eric has been exercising this system significantly over the last few years, and as a result, we have much less sediment that gets generated and moved through the system during these hydrant flushings. So we've had many fewer complaints about red water in their toilet or, unfortunately, on their laundry. We also perform leak detection surveys. We try and do that every year, and Mass DEP wants us to minimize what's called unaccounted for water, water that we pump but don't get paid for as far as water bills. We also have to do painting of the tank upcoming, and it's usually something we get a bond for. And then ultimately there'll be things like pump and generator replacement, and we are planning a full system assessment to help us get in advance of some of our future challenges. Our biggest challenge is the potential for changing water quality criteria, resulting in new treatment requirements. So you've heard of PFAS, and here you'll hear what it stands for, per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances. And basically, it is compounds of things like Gore-Tex and Teflon and other things that have been manufactured. And we do not have a source that we know of within town, but there are very low levels in the water that we have, and we are required to continue to monitor that. But EPA is expected to establish what they call their maximum contaminant level, or MCL, for these PFAS compounds by the end of the year. And when they do that, Mass DEP will promulgate an MCL for public water suppliers like us. And we will have a timeline for accomplishing compliance with their treatment requirements. Now, there may be grants for those funding, to assist in that, and we will certainly be looking into it. We've already looked into what might be the treatment requirements. And then other than that, in the future, we continue with tank maintenance. Ultimately, pipes will be replaced, but our system is largely made up of cement pipes, and they are they don't really corrode, so we've had a very stable system, a few leaks. And then, as I mentioned, there will be an additional treatment system at some time in the future, and that will have additional operation and maintenance costs. And that, I believe, is the water department.
Wow. You always amaze me, Ernest. Thank you so much for that. Anybody have any comments, questions? Ben?
Only that was an excellent presentation, very informative. Thank you so much for putting that together. And maybe I didn't see the PowerPoint in our packet. I might have missed it, but maybe we can.
We didn't have the
Yeah, maybe.
I can certainly email it. That'd be good.
That'd be great, because it'd be great to have some of that information in our file. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks very much for the opportunity. And
Don't go anywhere yet. Anybody else have any?
no.
I just have a clarifying question, I guess. Ernest, you mentioned the unaccounted for water.
Yes.
What does that mean exactly? Is that mostly from leakage?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It is from leakage. We do measure how much we discharge when we do hydrant flushing. And so all these types of systems will have some leaks. We often have problems with a resident that might have a leak that's past our water meter. If it leaks past our water meter on their property, it is their responsibility. And we have provided, a one-time correction on a water bill if it's, something that's been fixed right away. But yes, we have found leaks, and the person actually comes out and listens for these leaks at times like 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning when there's less going on in the action of the system. So an interesting career if you're a night owl.
That's great. Thank you very much. It was a great presentation.
Gary?
You're very welcome. Anything
Yes, that,
else?
We know that this is the most essential government service we have here in town. It's the basis for everything, and long-term, it needs our attention, and I know it gets professional attention from the commission.
Yeah,
Okay.
great. Pete?
Very good. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Discussion and vote on Halloween trick-or-treat hours. Halloween is Tuesday, October 31st. In the past, I think the hours were 4 to 8.
5 to 8.
5 to 8.
5 to 8. 5 to 8. In my head, I saw 5. I said 4. Are you comfortable with that, everybody?
There's no reason to change.
There's no reason, is there any issues that from the police or anything that would,
Nope.
they have a problem with that? Nope. Anyone want to throw a motion out there?
I'll move that, oh, go ahead. I'll move that the Halloween hours for trick or treat in Wenham for 2023 be 5 to 8 p.m.
On Halloween.
October 31st.
October 31st.
Second.
It's been seconded. Anybody, questions, comments, discussion? Let's vote. I say yes.
Pete Clay says yes.
Deirdre, yes?
Gary, yes.
Ben Timon, yes.
It's unanimous. Trick-or-treating, 5 to 8, Tuesday, October 31st. Just so everybody knows, Town Hall is open on that day, and maybe they want to trick-or-treat. Should be fun.
Load up on candy.
C and D,
For any kids.
we're gonna pass over for today. Discussion and potential vote to approve the West Wenham Park BSC Group Engineering Contract, which is in our packet, and that packet is online. And it includes, if I could just clarify I'm just confused because we had a plan from Ernest on the open space that was already done with the feasibility study, so what is this, what are they actually gonna do with this?
Sorry, I was reading the packet. What was the question again?
So we were showing
Here's
the,
what they do. Solicit quotes, questions, 2 responses provided, contract with consultant, develop engineered plans and cost estimates, permitting and construction bid documents, final deliverable. That's what they're doing.
The next step after the feasibility study.
so the next step after but they already have a plan.
They have a concept design. This will actually,
Concept design, so now they're
this
gonna
will-
put it into reality.
yes.
So the concept design doesn't mean, let's say, that there is 4 pickleball courts, it's just an idea, right? Okay. All right, any comments, questions, or concerns on the contract? Deirdre?
Yeah, so I had raised this earlier today, but my main concern with the contract, or the template, I guess, is that the payment terms are not specific. It mentions just that there's a 30-day payment terms after you receive an invoice, but not actually how we would disperse the money, the 59, I think it's 59,000.
Something.
And based on like deliverables or time, and it's a short contract, so how many payments would we be expected to do in that time frame, and based on what? So that's really the thing that I found was missing.
Thoughts, anybody? I mean, I'm not a lawyer, I read through their, what is that first thing that we had?
Is that, was the deliverables on the 25, 60, 100% schedule?
Yeah, so that's what Deirdre had emailed me earlier today, and the potential solution, and we went and asked the vendor if they'd be amendable to amending the contract to include essentially an invoice at 25, 60, and final. The 25% complete, 60%, which was in the,
What was your question? I didn't understand.
is that
your
what you were
question.
asking?
No, the question was, are we going with a usual 25, 60, 100? I understand that was what the deliverables were, and that's the same as the billing.
Yep.
All right. Do we expect a positive response from the vendor?
I don't know. It was just brought up today, and we brought it up to him, just anticipating that if the board decided to suggest some amendments, we'd be, kind of on top of it.
So, I don't know, it looks like a great program, it looks like a great company, everything looks good, I don't understand what would be wrong with the contract.
I mean, I will say this is the standard contract that we use for our services,
I don't understand.
the KP law.
So what's the issue?
So typically, in contracts, you would specify the payment terms, right? So when the invoices are expected and based on what? If this is a fixed-price contract, so you're paying for a service for a price, right? So what triggers an invoice, basically? Is it time, like at this month, that month, or so forth? Or is it a deliverable? And when and how many do you pay? So those things are usually specified ahead of time so that you don't get into the contract and, for example, contractor submits a weekly invoice. And you're like, why are you sending me so many invoices? Or did you actually do this work? Like, what are we basing the payments on? It's not that there's an issue with the proposal.
Right.
It's just that I think those terms are missing from the contract template.
And you're saying, Steve, this is our standard contract?
Yeah, this is what KP provided us, that we kind of they gave us, like where the contractor's name is, it was just blank, and they just said, use this for your services.
A lump sum, don't we isn't it say just a lump sum at the end?
Well, you're agreeing to the total, right, which is the lump sum, but typically they're not going to wait till the end when everything's been completed to be paid.
Really?
But that's why you have to specify, because you don't know the answer to that. But both sides should understand when the payments happen based on what.
Did it say in their proposal, their scope? Sometimes they'll say what they want, how they want to be paid.
True.
I don't know, we just got that this afternoon, so I
Yeah, there
didn't
was
get all the way
there was
through
no
it.
payments, it was just the deliverables will be at 25, 60%, and then the final
Where
product.
does it say the deliverables? In the proposal?
Another issue, and I think it relates to what Deirdre's saying, is on the form that says price proposal form, Town of Wenham, which I gather is the form that you're talking about, KP saying to be used. This one here?
No, it's the contract itself.
Okay. Because at least in this document called price proposal form, Town of Wenham, where it says 59.6 is the lump sum proposal, it also says, in the event that the unit price and the total price differ, the unit price shall prevail, but I don't understand from this document or elsewhere what the unit price is referring to. I understand the contract price is or the total price rather, is the lump sum, the 59.6. But it's saying that a unit price would prevail over that, but doesn't seem to explain what it means by
That's it.
unit price.
Yeah, so that, so I think in this case, that's a standard, I don't know if KP Law provided it, but that's what's one of our price proposal forms that we use as standard when we go out for bids on projects. So it could be there, for example, our paving contract, it's bid like per ton of material. And, the contract could be estimated on, 100 tons of asphalt, and the total price would be unit price times 100 tons. But in the event we needed more than 100 tons, we could get it at the price per unit. And then, so the total contract would be more than that 100. But in this case, it may not be applicable and maybe should have been amended to remove the.
Yeah, if unit price is sort of the rough equivalent of time and materials, and this is saying that the lump sum price that was negotiated could be overridden by that, and that's an issue. Because I think I think it's not an estimate of 59.6, I think their fixed price proposal, right? Like, we
Yes,
wouldn't be
that's right.
expecting to be paying.
Yep.
more than that. So the language in here seems to not be to our benefit, as written now.
On page 13, where it says, design plans and cost estimates will be submitted to the town at 25% and 60% of design stage. Does that mean, is that not saying that they're gonna tell us how much we owe them at 25% and then 60%?
Well, I think that's what I took from it,
Okay.
but it doesn't, as far as invoicing, it doesn't specifically say. That's where we got the 25, 60 and final as suggestions for kind of milestones for, you know, both their deliverables and also our billing.
So where are we?
So let's, can we move forward with the contract with the stipulation that Steve take care of those two possible amendments, if it can be arranged with the vendor?
I'd be okay with that, I think, but my main concern is the one that I mentioned, right? I think that sentence about unit price shall prevail over the total quoted price, that needs to go. That leaves it open-ended. It becomes like a time and materials contract rather than a fixed price contract.
Fixed price. Yeah.
So, and this is also, you know, so this is what they submitted. So the contract would range the premium, so
Oh, right.
this is part of their, you know, it could be,
Yeah,
we
bid.
could have 5 vendors with 5 price proposals, but then when you sign the contract, that identifies the
Right.
terms. But I will remove that.
Okay.
Right, so Section 4, compensation, and Section 5, payment of compensation, right? In somewhere in there, it should be specific, if those are the benchmarks that you're going to use for submitting and paying invoices. It should be actually in the contract specified. That's my point.
What page are you on?
So this would be, you want to be this consistent going forward in all contracts of all dollar amounts? Just because it would have to, because that's what we've used historically always.
I would say yes.
Which pages are you, when you said section,
Well, there's no page numbers.
but which,
Doesn't tell you on that.
you're looking at the tasks?
The town of Wenham, Massachusetts agreement. It's
Paragraph 4 and 5.
Yeah, the end of page 1 and the top of
Compensation.
page 2.
Right.
Right, and particularly, you know, this is a very short contract. It's October 17th and it ends January 31. So it's a short time frame.
October 21st to when?
October 17th to January 31, 2024.
So it's 3 months.
Compensation.
No, not the contract.
Yeah.
Their scope. I can look at it.
Why are we sweating how they get paid?
We're not,
If it's only 3
Peter,
months.
we're not sweating it, but this is a contract, and the language should be clear, what the expectation is, so that both sides are clear, so that you're not in the middle of the contract and then finding that you're not in agreement. That's my point.
So Steve, I hear what Deirdre's saying. Are we getting bad advice or not great advice from KP Law?
I'm not an attorney. All I can say is, you know, this is what they provided us as a good blanket contract to use. I mean, with that said, they probably would come back and say, well, you're open to amend it in any way you want. This is just kind of the bare structure. However, it's what we've used in the past without issue. Although I believe the master plan is running into some billing and invoicing, not issues, but basically what Deirdre was saying, some miscommunication as to the understanding on how these things were going to unravel through the course of the project. So if that is what the board wishes to include some sort of a payment plan in each contract, it's easy enough to accomplish. And even if on the short contract, it could just be build once, I don't know, 20% up front, whatever it comes to, 50% at the, when you're halfway done, and then another one when you're complete. I don't think you have to really break it down into much more than that unless it's a larger contract over a longer period of time.
So the motion could be?
Move that we accept the contract with the stipulation that the town administrator work with a vendor to establish fixed payment terms and deliverable terms.
Anything to add? Discussion? Okay. Yes.
Sorry, just, I have two questions, not specific to the contract, so do you want me to do that at the end?
Nope.
Do
Right
it
now
now?
it's good, yeah.
Is there someone from the town who's sort of responsible for like overseeing in some capacity the work that's done under this?
Open space?
Would it be the committee or is it,
Yeah, so this would be the committee's project, and the select board has signing authority for the contract, because that's the money part of it.
and is the funding for this coming from the CPC funds or the ARPA funds?
You know, I don't know specifically how they have it allocated. It's a combination, I believe, of some tax levy money, a grant from the state, and ARPA funds. So I'm not sure how they have it allocated, if they have a,
CPC.
in CPC.
CPC, so the grant's already gone. They spent the grant money.
Okay, so then,
That's what he mentioned.
Right, so it's between how they're gonna, because they also then wanna, this is just the plans, right? Then they have to save some of that money
Right.
to do it.
So I'm just wondering which pot of money it's coming out of.
I don't know I can't speak to that.
Because there's stipulations with ARPA, right? That it has to be managed certain ways and accounted for?
No, you just have to account for what you spend, where you spend it, because we took, in most communities in Massachusetts, took the lost revenue exemption. So what that does is it gives you up to $9.7 million of lost revenue without restrictions on how it can be used. However, you still need to report on how you used it. So the reporting requirements are still there. It's just you're not restricted in how you can use it.
And CPC has to report it out a certain way as well.
Yeah, CPC had to take a look at their
Wherever they go,
application.
they need to have someone follow the money. And so the staff in charge of open space is Kate, is that right?
Yeah, Kate.
So,
Yeah, Kate staffs the board. So again, this $60,000, I don't know if they're pulling it out of the bucket of ARPA or the CPC funds or a combination of both. I can get that answer for you, but I'd be guessing if I told you.
yes, we wanna know that. Okay, so we have a motion on the table and a second, and we shall vote.
Gary, yes?
Deirdre, yes?
Peter, yes.
Ben, yes.
And Diane is yes, so it's unanimous. There is a stipulation in that motion that we wanna make sure that gets followed up on. If there's an issue with that, Steve, you would bring that back to us, right?
Yep, will do.
Okay. Thank you. Furniture layout and cost discussion. How do you guys like this setup?
I like it.
You like it. You liked everything so far, so.
Actually, I didn't.
Okay. This looks pretty good. Deirdre, how do you feel?
Yeah, I think it's fine.
It's fine.
Works okay.
Yes.
So,
Me sitting in the middle, it looks much better. I don't have to lean over people. I think everyone can see each other. I had envisioned more of a U, but it makes more sense.
so I mean, so I just gotta.
Oh, we got a demonstration.
Well, so there's a couple, we're gonna pull up a picture here. I mean, it's nothing that everyone hasn't seen before. It's pretty standard.
Yep.
So the cost for the octagon-shaped corners, so you can make like a big octagon, is much higher. And they take up more space, believe it or not. So what I'm suggesting is going with the standard rectangle tables, like you see on the screen, but the one suggestion that, and I can get one to test if we want to bring it to the next meeting, just because the cost we're looking at is probably about $5,000 or so to get us set up like this. So it's an 18-person, basically modular conference table that, those are, what's that?
So can you slide the camera view of us currently? No, yeah. Right?
If you want to see it.
I want to see it. Don't hide it.
Oh, see who's on here?
No, we want to see our picture. We want to see us right
See,
there. Yeah.
the angle,
I don't know where it went.
I think she
There
shares.
it is.
There we go.
right, so you can actually see everybody, from Gary all the way down to Joe. If you set up what you're showing there,
Yeah, I know where you're going.
you're gonna be looking at the back of people's heads.
But we wouldn't set it up like that.
Yeah.
So we would set it up just like this.
This.
And we wouldn't even need all those tables. They would be folded in the basement. But in the event that there's like a large working group that wanted to, we could set this up for, I mean, they even sell, 20, 24 people. I'd say, so the school's space is an issue. Like you can see, these tables are basically the same size of those tables that you're looking at right there, right?
So why do we need to buy new tables?
Well, the board had suggested, brought to
$1,000?
staff, the concern and the request to research and purchase new furniture for the meeting furniture for the select board room. And this is just a follow-up to that.
Okay, so, wait one sec, can you hold that? Go ahead with your presentation. So you're saying do something like this as opposed to...
Well, yeah,
bringing
something like
it-
this, but then to save on space, they sell, at the schools use them for basically their big meeting rooms, and anyone who's gone to any meeting over there for the schools knows that they have essentially tables this size, but they're half the width this way. They're 18 inches instead of 30 inches wide. And I like them because you gain a lot of space, like behind, you know what I mean? Like that 18 inches goes a long way. And you can also set them up just like this. You can do all the same stuff. I don't know, I just want to throw that out there that it would allow, I think, more flexibility in a smallish room like this to go with a smaller table. However you lose some space, the microphone might be here instead of out here. There's going to be some concessions that you're going to make on space. But
So,
anyways.
if I may, so it's a similar setup, right, than this. I think we wanted to do something because we couldn't use the old table anymore. This looks, is a great setup. You could put tablecloths on it to make it a little more professional, or we could go with something new. My question on the something new, if we don't go with the octagon sides and we go with straight ones, do those fold? Like they fold right up so they can be out of the way?
Yeah, you can see, it's hard to see, but
Yeah.
you can see the picture
It
to
does
the,
fold though, okay.
it folds up like that.
And do the skinny, I assume if the skinny tables, you would get folding ones as well?
Yes.
And perhaps we don't need a full 18-person, maybe we don't buy 18.
Right. Well, that'd be another decision the board would, like this particular one, they come as a set. It's an
Yeah.
18-person set, 18 chairs and enough tables for everyone, but they don't all come like that. You can get them piecemeal
Right,
as well. And the cost ends up not being much different. It's not like you're getting a big discount for buying this big package.
and they're chairs that maybe my feet touch the ground. Any comments, Gary?
So I think probably the largest committee we've ever had is master planning at 15. So with a couple of staff, 18, this should be the absolute largest size that we'd ever need. And perhaps like to do the economy wherever possible. We certainly have a lot of chairs, and we now know that they can't stack where they used to be, so we need something that's light enough to easily go down the basement, up and back. So perhaps the smaller width tables is the way to go.
And the chairs, that will be the difficult part on storage, like another stack of 18 chairs, unless you wanted to use these.
And what, you said there's a problem with these?
with
Well, they no longer can be out where they usually stack for the past years because fire hazard.
That's not new. Yeah. So do chairs like this fold?
Yeah, but not really. Like they fold up a little bit, but they still take up a lot of room. And even those, when you stack 18, two stacks of 9 chairs next to each other, they're big and heavy, take up a lot of room. So just getting them up from the basement, especially if we're gonna save these chairs, so now you got 2 stacks of chairs. I don't know if you wanna try to buy some tables and use these, or maybe I buy 3 narrow tables. We use those chairs and test it out. I mean,
You could sell those chairs. Can't you on the,
Yeah, you could. I don't know how much they
But
worth,
you gotta think audience chairs too, if we ever,
Right,
have
but
public hearings or whatever.
you don't need that many.
Yeah.
Deirdre, any comments so far, ideas?
Just that this came about, we talked about this at the workshop in the summer, and it came up because of the need to have a flexible space, basically, not just for the select board, but for all the committees that meet in this room, so that it can be workable. For master plan type committees, we definitely had a lot of awkward setups, trying to make it easy for everyone to participate, and I think this would accomplish that. So,
Thoughts on the skinnier tables versus the regular width?
I think the tables are fine. I know there are different types of chairs, like the don't have arms, that are more stackable, so there's different options in chairs.
But the skinny tables would still work, do you think? You feel good with
I
the
think
skinny
so,
tables?
yeah.
Pete, any thoughts?
Not wild about the skinny tables.
You don't like the skinny tables?
I'm not wild.
Okay.
Because I just look at how all of our stuff is laid out.
Well, I think most people.
Because you're gonna be like this.
Well, because I think people either use a notebook or they use a computer. I haven't quite gone to the computer, so I have sort of both. But I think most people now could use just one, but I agree. Ben, thoughts on?
I like this setup. I'd be fine with it. So.
Okay. So what I'm hearing, and which I think I agree, is we're good with getting some new tables. None of us really want to spend a lot of money. I don't know how much money we even have to spend. So if the skinnier tables are less expensive, we will make Pete like them. For now. And then maybe if it's not, the set is always so easy because it's just one set and it's all set, but maybe we have to piecemeal it, like a table separate than some chairs. There'll be more room when we don't have these chairs, so even if we had the big tables and these chairs weren't here, we'd have more room. If we had regular, people chairs instead of these kind of chairs, but, so, if we want to give a directive to our administration, is that through, we do a motion? Anybody, or we just want to ask them to do
Well, is there,
into this further
back
and
with a-
go with?
have we actually looked at,
Yeah, we'll come back with a like specific.
yeah,
product.
specific product,
And cost.
sizes, cost, and maybe we end up with a mix. We look at, maybe a couple committees actually do need a wide table for charts and maps, so maybe,
Well, the skinny
Also,
tables can
remember-
be put together.
Yeah,
yeah.
So
they're
you could-
modulars, so the idea is you can configure it for whatever group, however they want.
Right.
Do you feel like you kind of have an idea of our,
Yeah, that was a big thing. I just want to make sure, see if there was openness to explore the skinny tables, whether include
I
them
would
or
just-
not include them.
so I agree, that moving them is important. They should be easy to move and fold and go upstairs, downstairs, stuff like that. So
Gary
that's important.
makes a good point, that for the planning board, every once in a while, we'll have the big maps
Yeah.
that we have to sign. So maybe you get one table that is actually full size, not skinny,
Okay, that's a fair point.
just for that board.
Okay,
Except you can push those 2 rows together, Pete, so
right,
then
and so the
you
skinny tables can be put
become
together.
wide tables. Because you don't have 18 people, you have 5.
No.
So you push those 2 rows together. I mean, I was in an office with modular furniture, and we just moved them around all the time, depending on what we were doing.
She makes sense.
Leave it to Steve then.
Okay.
Come back with a proposal.
You guys are on it. Update on the Hamilton Wenham Regional School District Athletic Fields Project. There was some information in the packet that I didn't really get to go over. Does someone want to review it?
I can review it.
Didn't either.
Sure.
I'll just go off memory. So we got a brief update on the, well, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month and a half ago, the board was asking for an update on the athletic fields project. So basically how it stands now is what we were running with estimates last year at town meeting that we were using to project the estimated cost or the tax impact to individuals. We were stating it as dollars per $100,000 of assessment, and we were at about $47 per $100,000 of assessment per household would be the cost to service the debt on the athletic fields through the life of the loan. After speaking with Eric, it seems like we were originally estimating on the very conservative side intentionally. We were estimating our fundraising efforts to raise about $1 million. However, they are at about 1.5 now, including a significant contribution from the Ed Fund. So with that additional $500,000, all the other costs, the scope of the project and the estimated costs remain the same. However, they've not gone out to bid the project yet, so that there may be some changes there, whether it's concessions and scope or how they're gonna handle that if costs have escalated since their original planning about 6 months ago. But that $500,000 reduces the cost per household minimally, but it is a reduction to an estimated about $45 per $100,000 to service the debt, assuming that they do the full scope that was proposed, and the costs stay the same and haven't gone down. It's unlikely they went down, but. And as far as the schedule of the project, they plan on going out to bid either later this fall, early winter, with the anticipation of the project starting when the ground thaws in the spring and be wrapping up by September or October. They are gonna have a disruption in their field usage because it'll be under construction. So we're currently in negotiations with the Youth Soccer Association and the subleases for the fields down by the iron rail to ensure that the Hamilton Wenham School District sports the needs that they have for field usage is met. So looks like we'll have no problem in the spring. However, the fall is higher traffic, but everybody has expressed, meaning the stakeholders, youth soccer, Penguin Hall, Landmark, have all expressed willingness to cooperate and be flexible and make sure everybody gets their time on the field that they need. So with that, they should be wrapping it up about September, October, and for their turf fields, they don't have to grow or anything like that, so you pretty much can use them the next day, from what I'm being told.
Great.
So it looks like there hasn't been any more fundraising. I mean, I know in the first one it said $1 million, but I believe at town meeting, everyone knew it was 1,500, or $1.5 million, so there's been nothing new coming in there, because that would be really helpful. Any other thoughts? Okay, thanks for the update. Personnel policy, so I think it's best that we just pick one that we like. Discussion and vote to select either Middleton's or Manchester's personnel handbook, serve as a template to update to use for the town of Wenham's personnel policy. So they were both in the packet. We've had them for a little while. I know Pete has his notes. I'm gonna start with you. What do you prefer? Which M?
Manchester.
Manchester.
Yeah, and the
for
reason is, So if you actually look at page 2 of Middleton, it actually has, at the bottom of the page, starts by threatening employees of being laid off at any time. That's literally where you start, as opposed to the beginning of Manchester is you have the welcoming new employees to the town. And it's really very positive, it's upbeat. Manchester early on has a full page on valuing and managing diversity at the beginning. Whereas, you know, it's not really an emphasis point within the Middleton. I thought the social media policy for Manchester was much better. The fact that in Manchester, they actually have a section on employee development, seminars, development plans, which is not in the Middleton. And so I just think it also is just a better flow, and in general, it's more upbeat and positive.
Thank you.
Sounds like a place I'd like to work.
You going back? Deirdre, thoughts?
Although I have strong feelings about the manual, I don't necessarily have strong feelings about which one we pick. I will say I prefer the organization of the Middleton manual. I think the table of contents and the flow is more logical and easier to follow. But I do think tone is important, but I think also that's a good segue to say what's important to me is that we actually also apply some critical thinking to whichever we choose, because there are some elements, if we pick Manchester, for example, there are elements from Middleton that should be incorporated. And there are things in both that I still find are not up to par. So it's not just whichever one we choose, that's our starting point. But it's not just that we take out one town's name and put in ours. We still have to apply some critical thinking to make sure it does what we're setting out to do and is the best product. And so that's my main concern, and as I've said probably ad nauseum at this point, I am happy to help do that work. I'm not just suggesting it as busy work. It's really just to get the best product. I will say specifically that neither of the sexual harassment policies, I think, are what they should be, and ours, having worked on it a year and a half ago, and it's been approved twice, is in a better place than these. One of them actually would take us backwards. It's equivalent to the old Wenham policy, comes from the same original template. So there are pieces that still need to be addressed. That's my main concern.
Thank you. Gary?
I think the Manchester one is certainly more employee-oriented, as Peter said, and I believe, if I'm correct, the Manchester one has already gone through KP Law review, as opposed to other party review. And I think as Deidre said, that perhaps the solution is to start with the Manchester one, and then, chapter by chapter, just make sure that the other alternative, as you walk down the pages, isn't better, and let Deidre take on her 2 or 3 paragraphs and get it done. So I think Manchester is the model, but we ought to just, compare, not overall, but chapter by chapter or section by section, and maybe substitute if we need to.
Thank you.
Right, and I think that process that Gary just described would be more difficult to do and more time-consuming, I think, for the staff and for anybody else who participates in redrafting it, including Deirdre, if we were to use the Middleton one, which seems to be, maybe almost too comprehensive and too granular. I think there's a lot in there that we would need to think about how we were going to change it and what differences we might have in Wenham based on, particular standards set out in some of the categories. And I think there are some of the categories that I didn't love how they were written. I agree with Peter on the tone issue. So I think that the Manchester by the Sea model is probably a better one to be working from.
awesome. Look at that. I know that you prefer the Middleton one. I have taken the Manchester one before we came up with both of these and tweaked it to be Wenham, to the best of my knowledge, and is in the administration's hands. So from there, if you guys want to review it a little bit more and then bring it back or throw it to Deirdre to review, but I think when we make it Wenham, and then we can work and tweak section by section and add things or whatever, but it's keep the sexual harassment, because you mentioned that, maybe that other, we did 3 policies.
We did.
Yeah, maybe use those instead of the Manchester ones. And then I think we have a really good start. I like the tone. I've worked in a lot of places, it's the only personnel handbook that I actually read cover to cover, like, wow, this is nice information. No one ever told me these things before. So how do you want to go forward with that? I mean, I sort of have to made to Wenham, but.
So you already sent something to, so then,
Yeah, we've started.
you should go to Deirdre and let her work her
Well,
magic.
before, I mean, yeah, we'll definitely loop Deirdre in, but now that we have, you know, we weren't sure which one we were gonna move forward with, so we kind of put it on hold until this meeting.
So I made it Wenham from my point of view, but I don't know exactly how processes work in Wenham anymore, so then I started writing, did we do this in Wenham? Is this actually what happens in Wenham? So.
Yeah, so
once
that's where
you
we're
guys
at.
fix
So
that
we're
piece-
gonna start, you know, I think Deirdre's expertise are in, you know, the policy and the personnel, labor law and things like that, where, you know, we're gonna start updating, you know, what our current practice is for vacation accrual. You know, can you use vacation time if you get 1 week at 6 months, can you use a day off before your 6 months? Like, we'll try to reduce to writing a lot of our current practice that was not spelled out in our, you know, in our handbook prior, but that, you know, it's the way the town has operated for many years.
So you're gonna Wenhamize it a little bit more,
Yes.
and then share it with Deirdre, and I'd
Yeah.
like to ask to be on those emails if possible. And
Yeah,
then,
for sure.
so if we're thinking it's October something, just to always have a deadline. When do you guys think that you're gonna be able to pass it on?
Sorry.
What do you think, Joe?
I was gonna say some out next week, maybe the first meeting in November, possibly. Is that?
First meeting in November. Well,
November 7th.
No, so I'm asking when you guys think that you would have it ready to.
probably a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks.
To throw it off to Deirdre, CC and me.
Well,
and
2-3 weeks, I think, gives us enough time to do what I just described. We'll go through it into the best of our ability, not to say, you know, additional points won't be raised through discussion and various observations, but I think we can be pretty thorough in our updating of Wenhamizing it.
So then, can we say the first
By the
week
end
in
of the month.
November?
Yeah.
You can throw it to Deirdre, and Deirdre can look at it
Yeah,
and
why don't we
let us
plan on
know.
like the 11/1, by 11/1, we will send an email to you and Deirdre.
Yep,
Saying,
and then,
here's our best attempt at Wenhamizing it, and then you guys can give us your feedback and figure out how we're gonna move forward from there.
so then, from there till, did we meet on the 7th?
We do.
Yeah, so on the
7th.
7th, can we just have an idea of how long, what we're looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we'll put it back on the meeting agenda. Wow. Communication policy, so I apologize, I ran out of time, so I did not really look at the changes that you might have made and the updates. Was there a communication policy sort of in the Manchester that we would just be adding this to?
Well, this is our communication plan,
Plan,
Yeah,
sorry,
plan.
plan, yes, plan,
And-
it says policy.
and so
So
we
Joe-
took, yeah, so Joe rewatched it, he made edits, I made edits
Yep.
based on other conversations I've had. So this, I think this really, you know, at least all the concerns and change for language changes and things like that
That we brought up
certainly
before.
accounted for in this, not to say that there's not additional changes needed for the document, but we're certainly this document is up to speed with any concerns that were voiced at the last meeting. So we continue on with the discussion.
So, did you guys get a chance to look at it? Okay, I'm gonna throw the conversation to Deirdre, you wanna start?
Sure. I mean, I like this communication plan. I like the tone and I like the principles. We talked about that before. So I think, I think this is easier to follow having it separated, so thank you for doing that, what we do and what we aspire to do. I guess I'd just like to add to the aspirational list, of course, but, because I think we should always be reaching. But I also thought, there's a couple other things I think we have done or started to do that might be added. Like, for example, in the summer, there was the training session trying to bring boards and committees together. So I think that's also a communication, part of a communication plan. Because one of the places where I think we can continue to brainstorm is the communication between boards and committees. So one of the things that's happening now is they're coming to select board for updates, right? So that could also be here. So that there's a central point for board and committee updates, but also the communication of the people on the board. Some of it is through these training sessions now that we started in the summer, which I would imagine would continue, but that's another method. And I think the aspirational goal that I would like to see, having heard it from the master plan meetings over and over again, is some kind of newsletter. And since we've talked so much about Manchester by the Sea, when I was on their website, I just happened to notice that they do a quarterly newsletter. It's just 2 pages, and it goes out in the quarterly tax bills. But I thought this might be a great model to start with, because it's sort of at least getting the basics. And, you know, maybe we can continue building it from there, but I thought that that was a great sort of entry point to think about for a newsletter.
It's a good one.
The committee training, and so we think we have I know we have a open meeting law, conflict of interest training set up with KP Law for January. I don't remember.
Oh, another one.
Yeah, so that is coming again, and I thought that was in there somewhere, but maybe it was just in my head, but thank you. So more, to bring out more stuff that we're trying to communicate amongst boards and committees, as well as another outlook is either some sort of newsletter, quarterly, monthly. They do the Tide in Manchester too, that's weekly, it's just a 1-pager. Any thoughts from you? Oh yeah, because you did this.
Well, I think she's a good idea.
Good points to add.
I love the idea of a quarterly newsletter going out with the tax bills because, you know, it's an easy thing to insert. As far as the content of and allocating kind of the duties for putting that together, I mean, are there any concerns about resources and, you know, who would do it and who would organize it?
Yeah, I mean, it would, you know, probably fall on us, but, I mean, I think we probably could start with a quarterly newsletter.
The only thing I ran across when we were doing it in Wayland was, are we including just departments or also board and committees? There's obviously a character limit too, what we
Right.
can include. So we just have to be mindful of that, or, you know, is it just
Right.
departments or?
Yeah, and if you're doing boards and departments, that's more, more cats to herd each time, because you're gonna need to
And that's
get-
really the lift is herding of information, formatting it, you know, putting it into Publisher or whatever,
Mhm.
getting it all in there, editing it. I guess the whole
I'm
thing.
sure once you set
just
it
the
up,
first
and then
time.
you do it like for, like a year, it'll be just second nature,
So
I would hope.
Yeah, no,
in
I think
Manchester,
it's achievable, for sure.
the one in charge of that sends an email to all boards and committee chairs and all department heads. Newsletters coming out, it will cover these months, send me anything you find that's interesting, but then she does have to trim it down, and some things certain don't make. It's kind of a subjective call at that point, what gets in, what doesn't. But it is a time-consuming,
Right.
just in that, really.
That's in the select board's office, too.
Yes, yeah. No, it's a communication office. It's a separate person that does that. Gary?
I think this is good. We just add in one line about aspiring to a newsletter of some sort. And then, I mean, all these are living documents. Let's get it in place, see how it works over the next year, and come back and review it same time next year. But the newsletter, you know, we have some expertise in-house with the COA as to how much workload that is, but I think the main thing is to designate either the chair of the select board or the town administrator to just decide where the edits is, what gets in, what gets out.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's a question you have to decide. What's gonna go in there?
Or you could organize it, you know, if it's a quarterly thing, you know, just here, the select board has input each quarter, and then fire department and water commission, you're the first one of the year. So, because I think a lot of the updates from departments and boards are long-term things that would attract people's interest. I don't think we're going to use this for, you know, hey, there's an event on the 3rd of May or whatever. It'll be big issues that are going to be long-term. So, you know, just schedule it through the year. Each board and committee or department has a scheduled time, or first, second, third, or fourth quarter. That's when you bring up your big issue for the year. And if it's really big, then select board just says, we're taking the front page.
So, adding in the newsletter idea, adding in the town committee collaborations, do we want to approve the communication plan? Is that something that we want to approve to go forward?
Ready here.
I'm ready for that.
So I move that we accept the communications plan as presented on the select board meeting on 10/10/2023.
With the additions of
With the additions of,
aspiring to a quarterly newsletter and a
right,
annual town full committee.
As amended.
Thank
As
you. As amended.
as amended.
Second.
Any more discussion? Let's vote. I'm going to say yes.
Pete says yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Here, yes.
Then yes.
It's a unanimous vote for the communication plan as amended. Thank you, guys. Thank you for all that work.
Yeah, thank you for putting all that work.
That's awesome. The minutes, let's go through minutes for 8/16/2023. Any comments, concerns?
Were there actually two sets of minutes in the packet that you, so I looked at them, I thought they were fine.
Anybody else have anything? Well, let's go to August 6th. Anyone have any?
I will add that we can expect a little bit of variance in style because we're not getting the same actual writer at the contract each time. So it's not going to be a absolute fixed thing. And I've seen a little bit of variance in what gets picked up and what doesn't.
Truth be told, I didn't get to read these, so
I did, I thought they were fine.
Yeah.
Did you feel do you see the difference? Not so
Yeah.
much, a little bit. But are we having the same two people, the same group of people, or we're not sure?
It's been different.
It's been different.
Hmm.
Yeah.
It's like
perfect.
more than 2 or 3 people.
Yeah. More than 2 or 3 people. Okay, that's not what we thought it was gonna be, right?
But if the product's relatively consistent, I guess that
True.
really bother me.
Has the information. Is there anything missing, any errors, anything we need to correct?
I didn't see anything.
Shall we make a motion, somebody?
I move that we accept the minutes of select board meeting on 8/16/2023 and 8/22/2023.
Second.
Any more discussion?
No, just that I'm going to abstain because I wasn't at the 8/16 meeting. I was on vacation.
Okay. We can vote.
Carrie?
So should we do two separate motions? Let's do two separate motions. Can you
All right.
split that up?
I move that we accept the minutes of Select Board meeting on 8/16/2023.
Second.
And the vote, Gary?
Gary, yes?
Deirdre abstain.
Abstain.
Pete, yes.
Diane, yes?
Ben, yes.
And yes, 4-1, approving those minutes from 8/16.
I move that we accept the minutes from the Select Board meeting on 8/22/2023.
Second.
And you can vote, because I don't think there's any discussion. Gary?
Yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Pete, yes.
Diane, yes?
Ben, yes.
Unanimous for 8/22/2023. That brings us to the end of the evening. Is there anything else that needs to be brought up?
Just confirming that our December dates will be the 5th and 19th, first and third Tuesdays.
December 5th and December 19th.
And now we got, what, the quintuple meeting on the 29th as well, right, of November?
Correct.
7/21/29 in November.
That's at 7? 7 p.m.
11/29. Meeting is at 6:30 at Bucher. And then we're doing 12/5. Yep, and 12/19.
And then, what were the November meetings?
The 7th and the 21st,
Okay,
and then the quintuple on the 29th.
okay, got it.
And I think we're good.
Then I move that we adjourn at 8:16, 10 October.
Second.
Double seconded. And Diane says yes.
Pete says yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Gary, yes?
Ben, yes.
It's unanimous. We're done. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.